Hey everybody, it's Comic Crack. Welcome. I was trying to do a live stream, but for some reason YouTube just isn't connecting. I'm not sure what's going on. The camera keeps turning on and off. So the beauties of YouTube live streams, they must be fucking with something to make it so easy, so much easier to use than it already has been. Anyway, wanted to shoot a video. I was kind of hoping to do a live thing to be able to interact with people and talk to people, but that's okay. I've been holding on to a few records lately and some extra things because I wanted to talk about them all in kind of one video. So way back when I first discovered that there was such a thing as the vinyl community, it was through ETA Nick, and he pointed me to a wonderful gentleman by the name of WurtzDB71, who was doing some records, but also had talked a little bit about mini comics in one of his videos. So ETA Nick had directed me towards his videos, and I started just watching and realized there was this vinyl community. Started digging in and watching some other videos by other people. Just fascinated by, again, I mean, every little niche has its own niche community, it seems, on places like YouTube, which is great to kind of get the skinny on what people are listening to, reissues, albums that I've never heard of, that sort of thing. All that stuff is exciting. One of the videos that Blake had was talking about some sleeves for records. He had worked with a company called Clear Bags in the United States, and through the vinyl community and himself, they sort of en masse approached Clear Bags and said, if you can make bags to our specifications out of this particular material that we'd be really happy with, we would all order hundreds and hundreds of sleeves from you. You'd get a ton of business. I'm sure there was thousands and thousands of sleeves ordered from Clear Bags when everything was said and done. So due to this, they kind of made a deal with him that they ended up started getting dubbed the Blake sleeves, is what they were called, and they're, even to this day, they're still referred to as Blake sleeves on the Clear Bag site. Even though he's since done videos where he looked at some of the new versions of bags that were coming out that were still called Blake sleeves, and commented on them, saying the material was different, the measurements were kind of hit and miss, that sort of thing. So it's by no way directly attached to Blake. It's just Blake and the vinyl community themselves had just gone through all this work of approaching this company, and Blake specifically worked very closely with them. They would send him samples, and he would put sleeves in to see if the measurements were right. A couple of the things that I'll talk about when we get to it, because I did buy some. I'll show you when we actually look at some records. But I had those videos bookmarked for years, because these videos that he did when he was approaching the company are many, many years old. Sorry, stuff popping up here. Many, many years old at this point, and again, he's not associated with them anymore. So I had the videos bookmarked for quite a while, and now recently, with my rediscovery or refound passion for records, due to selling and due to having a radio show, I wanted to get some new sleeves. I've never been happy with the basic bags that you can get for your records. I have the same complaints that everybody seems to have when you look at videos about sleeving your records and protecting your records. They bunch up. They're not that great. When they get older, they really just fall apart. Some of them really fall apart, and just don't look good. It just doesn't look good sitting on your shelf. Not that all that matters, but it matters, you know. As collectors, this is the kind of thing that we do, right? So I decided to take the plunge and order some. I went to the Clear Bags online store, which was an American company. Looked at the bags, kind of placed a mock order, as I often do, especially people who don't live in the United States. I'm sure that all of us do the same thing. Do a mock-up order just to see exactly how much the shipping is going to be. That's always the biggest one. Shipping can be extraordinary, and it just blows my mind. Even just shipping across the border from the United States or vice versa, the difference is extraordinary. Placed a mock order, and the shipping was insane. Made it so it was not worth it. It just wasn't worth it when I broke it down. Buying the bags and even just buying limited supplies, it was also, at that time especially, I hadn't seen them face to face, so it was a bit of a gamble on my part, especially after watching Blake's videos where he said, be careful ordering things that are called Blake sleeves now. They're not exactly like they were when he was involved and the vinyl community was involved. There was differences to the material, differences to the sizing. So as much as I wanted to try it out, for that amount of shipping, I didn't want to take that big of a risk. So I did some searching for clear sleeves, clear record sleeves online, Canada, and wouldn't you know it, Clear Bags has a Canadian store as well, and they offer the same products. They even still call them Blake sleeves. The shipping is much more reasonable. These came from Strathroy, Ontario. Is that what that says? Sorry, I don't have my glasses. Yeah, Strathroy, Ontario, clearbags.com. So there's the label there. I ended up buying 300 of the LP-sized sleeves. I think I tried 50 of the 7-inch sleeves, outer sleeves, and then I tried, I believe, maybe it was 25. No, it might have been 50. And then was it 50 as well of the interior, the record sleeves? Just to really give them a shot. The outer sleeves I was pretty sure I was going to be happy with. The 7-inch sleeves I wasn't so sure. And then the inner sleeves I wasn't so sure either, which is why I went smaller amounts with those. The outer sleeves I was willing to take a gamble because it was much better than anything I had. I have a lot of records sitting on the shelf for many years now that don't have sleeves on them whatsoever. So I wanted to get something, and I like the idea. They're resealable sleeves. There's options. You can get ones that reseal, or you can get ones that are open-ended. I wanted the resealable ones. And again, through all the research, looking at videos online, people who have bought them, I was willing to take a chance. And I have to say, I'm incredibly happy with them. Not only are they a really nice fit, they look incredible on the shelves. It's nice, especially with my 7 inches. There was a lot, again, just loose in a milk crate. So it's nice to have some protection, and I got a new kind of case for them to put them in. I'm still looking for the best way to have my 7 inches. But for example, so here's a 7-inch. I'll show you the other side. I'll just censor it there a little bit. It was the same feeling. I've never really been one for Mylar for the comics, but I imagine it's the same feeling that people have when they put their comics in Mylar sleeves. Because they're so clear, the records somehow look even better in the sleeves than they do outside of the sleeves. And there's another recent online. It's a great, one of my favorite Starfuckers tunes by far, especially of early Starfucker stuff. So it was really great to finally get this one. Ordine Publico is the one. Really, really excellent song. But this one, you can see there's a little bit of an overhang. This sleeve itself is a smaller size than normal ones. This one here is more kind of the regular size, and you can see there's not much in the way of any overhang there on the side. And as far as, so there you go. There's the sleeve there, and I mean, you can see, you know, there's lots of glare issues and stuff like that, but you can see how kind of crystal clear they are. Really, really happy with them. I wouldn't change a thing. So I sleeved most of my collection at this point. I'll probably want to buy some more, I think, to kind of take care of the rest of the records. So for the 12-inch, as I showed before, everything is reversed when you do this. So there you go. There's the label. Hopefully that's coming out. Wow, it's so difficult when the image is reversed. It's like a whole different system. BLP1. If you look on the site and you're wanting to take a chance, again, they do have an American store and they do have a Canadian store. So here's the 12-inch sleeves themselves. Same thing. Flap on the top. And when I place my next order, it's going to be for these incredible inner sleeves. Kind of a plasticky type material. You can see they're not totally clear. The thing that I love about it is that right there. With the paper sleeves, with everything else, there's a lot of static that builds up, which attracts a lot of dust. Obviously, the more static you have on your record, as soon as you put it on the turntable, it's going to attract everything in the room like a magnet and get into the record. A lot of the used records that I end up finding, a good portion of them don't have sleeves at all. It's just the record shoved into the cardboard outer sleeve, which, you know, I want to take care of my stuff. I want it to last, especially if I'm going to be reselling down the line, which seems to be the way it's going to be. A lot of this, obviously, I'm not looking to get rid of by any stretch, but these I would definitely order. I'll probably end up getting another 300 of them and kind of re-sleeve all of the records themselves. Again, with these kind of things, the more you buy, obviously, the better discount you're going to get. So I would say that, you know, if you have a buddy where you live who's a record nerd as well, kind of try to do a group order, so you can order a large amount and get a little bit more of a discount. So I'll just show you. So we got the beautiful, I figured this would be a good kind of sample for the 12-inch. So there it is without the sleeve on it whatsoever. And we'll just slide it into the bag here. If I can manage in this cramped little space that is the nerd headquarters. Crack HQ. Fold it over, and there you go. So there's the same record in a sleeve, and it's beautiful. It's really nice. I have the flap on kind of the spine, so when they sit on the shelf, it honestly looks like there's nothing on any of the records when you sit them on the shelf. It looks like there's just records sitting on the shelf. So I'm incredibly happy with them. The one thing that I would say, and Blake mentioned it in one of his videos, there's a little bit of a texture to the bags that he had sampled after the fact. And I do notice that, especially when I sat down and rebagged kind of 200 records in one sitting. By the end of it, I could feel a tiny bit of an oiliness on my fingers. Nothing huge. He had a concern with that, and rightfully so, and he's not wrong in saying it, that his impression is that if there is a texture on the bag, whatever that material is made of, that is going to transfer to the records, and he wasn't sure what was going to happen to those records over a period of time. I don't disagree with him. I am less concerned about it, maybe to my downfall. Skip to insert 15 years later clip here to see how I feel about it. But I'm okay with it. Do I have reservations about using plastic, period? Oh, 100% I do. Absolutely I do. And that's a bit of a struggle. Even when I was buying them, it was a bit of a struggle. And it comes down to, it starts making me think, I don't want to take this video too far off of track, but I mean, when I have those kind of thoughts, it makes me think about just all this in general. These are the kind of things that we're creating and hoarding and storing, and eventually it's just going to be waste. Obviously, different materials are going to decompose at different rates, and some will never compose. So do I have a little bit of reservations about buying a bunch of plastic to put my records in? I absolutely do. And I do when I do the comics. I do when I have all of that. But I do it anyway, which I don't. I'm not here to try to justify it, and I don't honestly have a reason, to be frank with you. I don't. It's not a daily struggle, but for sure it does creep into my mind. But like I said, it creeps in my mind when I'm picking anything up in general. The whole act of collecting things in general. If we didn't want these things, they wouldn't be created, which means that we wouldn't be creating this waste to begin with. The fact is that those of us that are out there that are collectors do exist. So anyway, I don't want to go too off topic on that. So throughout this time as well, the Discogs sales just keep steadily rolling along for me. I know I say it a lot, but if you are interested in selling records or CDs or tapes or whatever music media that you have in your house, and you don't want to deal with trading things in or giving stuff away, or I don't know, if you do want to try your hand at selling, I would highly recommend Discogs. I know that there's a couple of other sites out there that are starting to pop up. The names of them I don't know off the top of my head. I was reading a little bit about it. Discogs has a forum as well. And there was a couple people chatting about some of these other marketplaces, and I just don't know if I want to start another marketplace right now. Discogs is just doing well for me. It seems like on a weekly basis I'm making some sales. The other day I sold 3 records on the weekend, and you know, the stuff that I'm putting up, it's not the cheapest stuff, so it's nice to kind of get those things moving, passing on to some people that are really going to enjoy them. And the thing that I love the most about it is that breakdown. I have to say, when you put a record up, you can see what it's sold for in the past. What's the lowest it's sold for, what's the highest it's sold for, and what's the median. And I kind of shoot for the median, a little less than the median, so a little less than the mid-range. And then sometimes if there's a lot of an item listed, I'll just kind of look at those other listings and kind of go a little, if I feel that they're all out of control expensive, I'll go lower than them. Because at the end of the day, the point is I want this stuff out of the house, like the stuff that I don't want to keep. I would like it to go on to somebody who's going to appreciate it, and I'd like to make room, and I'd like to have some cash in a PayPal account. So the whole point is to sell stuff. It's not to always shoot for the highest. This is a $200 record. I'm not going to sell it for anything less than $200. That's mental to me. $125, you know, because chances are I bought it for $20 or less. So I'm not here to completely go nuts. I do want to kind of keep the marketplace at a certain level, but I think just like with comics and just like with anything, the fact that people see a number attached to something and that's the only price that it'll go for is crazy to me. That's just crazy talk. I don't care what book says what. Again, tangents. The point is, it's been going really well, so I've been picking up some other records, some that I'm really excited about, and again, because of the radio show, it's even more fun, because when this stuff comes in, it gets played on the show that very week. I got a package of records in today, 4 records, and they're going to be played this coming Tuesday. I just had the radio show last night, so next week they'll be on air, which is great. Having this to listen to it at home and then play it for other people on the university station, I think is a really nice way to do it. So I had been looking, I stumbled across some, just watching YouTube. Mike Patton had done this project Mando Connie, where he was doing reworkings or revisions, or sometimes just almost, pardon me, exact covers of some of these old Italian pop and movie songs from kind of the 60s and 70s. And there was a live set where they had all of the titles listed in the description. So some of the songs I knew. He does like Mina Mazzini, for example. He does a cover of one of her songs. So I figured, let's go through all of them and find the originals on YouTube just to see how they compared. So I spent kind of a couple of hours just watching a lot of, again, YouTube is just is so great for stuff like this, the archival nature of YouTube. Some amazing live performances in a studio. They're lip syncing, but the sound stage itself is beautiful looking. You can see sometimes the orchestra in the background. They're walking and singing. They're walking through the audience, or they have some setup. They have some set that they've built on the stage that they kind of walk through. Sometimes there's little dance routines. And then some of the songs that I found, it was just kind of the record with a still of the sleeve or whatever. But really, really fun. And hearing some of this music done by some of the original artists, obviously, like any sort of music, especially at that time, from what I believe, is that a lot of different artists ended up doing the same song. So you have a couple of versions of a song. So even though Mina Mazzini recorded whatever song, it might also be somebody else's that did it before her, and 4 artists that did it after her. So I made a little list on Discogs. I put a bunch of them on my wish list because a lot of them are 45s, and they sell for, depending on the artist, fairly cheap. And my hope was to add enough to my wish list that a seller would pop up that was selling maybe 5 of them, so I could kind of combine for shipping. It wasn't the case. I found one guy who was selling 2 of them, and I ordered them from him, and I didn't read it closely enough because one doesn't have the outer sleeve, which is this 45 here. And it's, oh, see, this is the thing. I'm going to just butcher these names. This was the song that I saw. Let's see if I cover up the screen. Maybe it'll focus. There you go. Boom. Look at that. So 1966. And it's a beautiful, beautiful song. So it's nice to have the 45. Again, I wish it had the outer sleeve. But unfortunately, it does not. And then from Fred Bongusto, I picked up this 45. And it's a great, this Over and Over is the song that Patton does. And Bongusto's version of it is killer. And there's nothing wrong with Mike Patton and his versions. I think Mike Patton is an incredible singer. He's an amazing vocalist. His voice holds up pretty well, especially doing some of this music. He's got a good range, but again, there's nothing like hearing the original. And actually having it and throwing it on the turntable here at home was amazing after dinner music. So Sleep put out their album The Sciences on Third Man. Third Man also put out a single. Oh, mastered by Bob Weston. I'm not sure if it was recorded at Third Man. I know that Third Man has their series. It doesn't have that on here, though. It does have the lyrics on the back. Let's see what it says. Yeah, it doesn't say that it was recorded at Third Man, but it's a track called Leagues Beneath. It's a single-sided 12-inch. The Sciences was, from what I understand, Third Man's best-selling record to date at the time that came out. It sold out almost immediately. I think they've done a second and even a third printing of that record. Sleep has a hell of a following, myself included. So they did a single-sided 12-inch, and I have to show you the other side. It's a great tune. I played it last night. I pre-ordered it from Third Man, and what also impressed me about Third Man was the speed at which everything got to me here in Canada was great. The packaging was phenomenal. The fact that they brand everything, even the the cardboard panels that are inside the outer cardboard sleeve for shipping have their logo branded on it. Very, very smart. I have a couple of records that are etched, none as deep as this. So here we go. Let's see if it shows up here. Oh yeah, there we go. This way. So you can see it's an astronaut, and there seems to be some tentacles in the background. Beautiful, really, really beautiful. And it's a great tune. I mean, they're a hell of a band. It's the drummer, unfortunately, as I've said before, I think it's not the original drummer. The drummer is from a band called Neurosis, if anybody is into that kind of stuff. And then, of course, it's still Al and Mike. And it's a great album. Really, really great. And from what I understand, it's doing very well on Third Man as well, too. So there you go. That's that one. Sleep Leagues Beneath. I was in Calgary just this past weekend for a convention, a Canadian convention for our union. And one of the days, things didn't start until about 1 o'clock, so it gave us a chance to go for a walk. Checked out a couple of record stores, checked out a comic shop. Phoenix, Mr. CDC was talking to me about it on Twitter. There was a Recordland store that was row after row after row after row, floor-to-ceiling records on both sides. So we had a little bit of a dig there. We didn't have tons of time. It was the kind of place that I could have spent, 4 or 5 hours in going through the records. For the most part, the prices seemed okay. There was stuff that I was pulling out in the soundtrack section that I was interested in that were priced pretty high. And when I posted a video on Twitter, CDC said that that was a place that he used to go to, and he said after we went there, we'd go across the street to Phoenix Comics, which is exactly where we went. And Phoenix was really impressive. I didn't pick up any comics. They didn't have much. They had a lot of back issues, but it was more modern back issues, which was the thing that impressed me the most. Well, one of the things that impressed me the most. All of the back issues were $1, so even if there was Saga, for example, that series, all the back issues that they had of Saga, even if it was one that just came out a couple of months ago, they're overstocked. The stuff that didn't sell, they had it marked at $1 to get it out the door, which makes sense. Again, the idea is it's a business. You don't want to be holding on to this stuff. You want this stuff to go. At a certain point, it's just stuff that's hanging around that you're not making money on. So if you can sell it for $1, at least you're selling it. And I think about a place like here, Galaxy. Love Galaxy. Not a complaint against them specifically. It's just when you get to a shop that size, their upstairs is filled with back issues. And from talking to them, they've got a warehouse filled with back issues. But when you go to those back issue bins, they're still charging $4 or $5 kind of cover price. There's not much. There is some discount bins for sure. There's not much in the way of discount bins though. So that said, a lot of the stuff ends up sitting there. Again, I mean, it's not my business. People can do whatever the hell they want with their own business. But I just know that if I had a business that was selling things, I would probably lean more towards let's just move these so nobody's buying them anymore because they're not new. So let's put them at even if it's half price, 50% cover, so $2, or mark them down to $1 just to get them to move. Anyway, we checked out another record store, and I can't remember the name of it. I don't have the bag down here. Anyway, something retro, something or other. And downstairs they had some records. Again, the prices in this place were astronomical. I couldn't believe it. Pulling some stuff out and flipping it over to see an $80 price tag is just, do what you want. But you got a basement filled with records. Pretty damn sure those records have been sitting here a long fucking time. $80, good luck to you. I mean, go for it. Absolutely, go for it. I did find some cheap ones, though. The highlight of the cheap records would definitely be this one. BBC Sound Effects, number 16. Disasters with that cover and things like this guy here hanging on, clinging for his life over the edge of a building. Up here, a sniper on a roof shooting at people down here. Like, it's just utter chaos on this cover. And then it just kind of gives you the breakdown on the back. So each band has a multiple. So side one, band one is Fire and Earth. So you'll get stuff like Raging Inferno, Rumble and Earth Crack, Wood Crushed, Falling Tree. Band 3 on side 1 is Industrial Domestic, so lots of different kinds of explosions, radioactive burns, chemical leaks. And then all the way, the one that I found most interesting, side 2, band 2, under Animals. The first piece is called Swarming Insects, and it's 47 seconds. And on the back it says that swarming insects that have already had millions of trembling Doctor Who viewers itching in their armchairs. So something that was right on the Doctor Who up there. Right on the Doctor Who show, right on a record for you at home, or for your school, or for your company where you're doing dramas. Your drama group is what they say. Love the cover, though. I've never seen these around in the wild, so that's a nice one to find. And I think it was like $6 or something, which is fairly reasonable. On my Wendy Carlos kick, switched on Brandenburg, the Complete Concertos. It's a double LP gatefold with an interview with Wendy Carlos inside. And there's the back. Oh man, this really just drives me crazy. This one was $8. So I'm looking forward to that. I do like Wendy Carlos stuff, and I think I've said it before. Clockwork Orange had such an impact on me growing up when I first saw it, and that music just really resonated with me because, especially at that time, it was really unlike anything I'd heard of before. I didn't really know how any of it was produced. Getting older, hearing this stuff again, and now with my discovered love of electronics and synthesizers and modular synthesizers, it's great stuff. I'm more along the lines of, why would you create a new instrument just to do classical music pieces? Why don't you create new music? For sure, that's the stuff that I'm really excited about. But still, there's something about her sound and doing these classical pieces. They sound twisted. They just have that little bit of twistedness to them. I know that there's a lot of over-intellectualization of it, and she was a composer. You know, she was really prolific and really, really good at composing. So, but there is still something a little twisted about it, you know, which is great. And I think I picked this up. I think I might already have a copy of this. Everything You Always Wanted to Hear on the Moog, but were afraid to ask. Again, this is all classical, but it was cheap and I couldn't resist. So even if I do have it, now I've got doubles of it. I love the cover. The cover is fantastic. So those were the 3 that I picked up from Calgary. There's a couple here that I'm not sure if I showed off in the previous one. The Electics of Dick Hyman. Moog. Again, more Moog music. It's the back cover of that. I may have shown that one before. This is really long. Sorry, everybody. 33 minutes already. Coup de Torchon, which is an amazing film. Criterion did a release of it, and when I was many years back, when there was a lot of time off in between movies, and I needed some money, I ended up selling a lot of things, and this was one of those movies I sold because Criterion was going for bucks, and I desperately needed some money, so I ended up selling it. This soundtrack is pretty great. I would say a highlight on it is the second one on side 1, The Dance of the Masochist, vocal by Stéphane Audrin, and it's a really nice piece. I played that on the radio show as well, played that on Dead Air. There was a record sale in town at Into the Music. Every week the prices kind of got cut even more. I found a couple of used records that I picked up, and two of them were from Engel Boingo, Danny Elfman. I haven't ever really listened to any Oingo Boingo. It, it doesn't blow my mind. Let's say that it's enjoyable, and the price was right because they were on sale. They were dirt cheap. Am I going to listen to these often? I don't know if I would. I prefer his soundtrack work and stuff like that. Forbidden Planet. Is that what it's called? Yeah, that stuff is great. There's some real highlights on it for sure. But like I said, I don't know if I'll be pulling this out too often. So I picked up that Oingo Boingo, and I picked up this one, Only a Lad, with a creepy song on it called Little Girls, the first track on side A. Really just creepy. So I feel like there's probably a little bit more to dive into with something like this, and reading about it. And there you go, the picture on the back there. Incredibly 80s looking, but I couldn't resist for the price. I think this was at that same sale, another, back when Wendy Carlos was still Walter Carlos. Walter Carlos by request. It's fantastic. The wedding march on side 2 is killer. What's New Pussycat is unbelievable. I played that on the radio show. And then again, there's some Three Dances from the Nutcracker Suite by Tchaikovsky. Dialogues for piano and 2 loudspeakers, some of Carlos's earliest work. Episode for piano and electronic sound. Geodesic dance. So some good stuff, some classical music, plus some original compositions, which is great. And a really, really great cover. Love that cover. Now to some stuff that I received in the mail. Yeah, all this is stuff that came in the mail from Discogs. Another sound effects record, Ghostly Sounds this time from... Is this from Power Records? Yes, it is. Power Records. Collecting more of these. I'm trying to start to put together a... How does that go? Here, there, straight. Where's there? Huh? Height. Putting together records and stuff for the... there we go. For the Dead Air Halloween show. And these sound effects records can be fun. The one that I found previously that I showed off in a last video with the haunted piano, I think was the piece, is really great. It's a really good piece. So I'm hoping to be able to throw something fun together for the Halloween show. Do kind of an hour-long mixtape. Maybe live, maybe pre-recorded. Maybe I'll save these 3 for last because I'm very excited about these. Yeah, let's save them for last. So, in today's mail from Nonsuch, Charles Dodge, Earth's Magnetic Field, some early electronic music, realizations in computed electronic sound, produced at the Columbia University Computer Center. So what I'm discovering, looking through Discogs and reading more about this early electronic music, there's a lot of these kind of records out there where it's computer music from universities, because they had the big computers. They had composers come and people that were teaching at the school creating these pieces and then releasing it on LP. So I'm excited to hear this. I haven't looked into it other than I love the cover. Nonsuch is a pretty great company. It's worth a shot. So there we go. I'm really looking forward to hearing that. Also from Nonsuch, the Nonsuch Guide to Electronic Music mini kind of box set. It's got 2 LPs, and it was supposed to come with a 16-page book. This one was cheap, as you can see, $10. It doesn't come with the book, which is kind of disappointing, but that's my own fault. I didn't look closely enough. And again, as I did with the 45, I didn't look closely enough at the actual seller's notes, where it says that the book doesn't come with it, which is why it was $10. Still in really nice shape though, and it's got, there's one, which way am I going here? There's one recorded piece right at the top of the album called Piece 3, that's 3 minutes, and then to close off the album is Piece 3 Recap, which is another 3 minutes, and the rest is different signs, different sine waves, different signals, different filters, white noise, transients, etc., etc., filtering, amplitude modulation, ring modulation. So it's all kind of samples of sounds from synthesizers and electronic music compositions. So that'll be an interesting listen. And finally, the ones that I'm most excited about, there's a series, I believe there's 5 records. I now have 3. I tried to order a 4th one from a seller, and it turns out in their catalog they had already sold it. I'm so sorry that this is 40 minutes. This is ridiculous. This should have easily only been 25 minutes. It's just I babbled. Turnaround Records is the company. I've heard some of this before, but not all of it. And one of the other things that didn't hurt wanting to get these records is the incredible jacket art. I really, really love it. So that made it even an easier sell. I was really curious about the music. There's a lot of different artists on each of these albums. Again, Walter Carlos shows up, Ilhan Mimarlu, and then a bunch of names that I don't recognize on that one, and we'll go through them. But the jacket art is really just incredible. So it's called the Electronic Music Series from Turnaround Records. As I said, there's some sort of glare there. They're all in the sleeves, but there you go. There's something. I love these colors sitting on top of each other. So this is the first record. And if you are interested in hearing this stuff, if you tune into Dead Air this Tuesday, this is the series that I'm going to be playing. I'm going to be playing as much as I can from each of these records for the hour. And we're really just going to dive into these. So that is number 1. And then this is number 3. I mean, look at that art. Really just incredible. I don't think it's the same artist on all of them. I think it's a different artist. Yeah, it is, yeah. So that says Miriam and Sam Smith for number 1. This one is signed by somebody named Ventilla for number 3. And there's the back. So the other great thing about this type of stuff, and especially with this record format, is getting these big write-ups on the back. Each of these, it has a little kind of description of the pieces from the artists themselves. So talking about whatever they want to talk about, whether it's how it was composed or why it was composed or things they were going for. And then finally, I received volume 4 in the mail today with this excellent frickin' cover. Unreal. Really great use of colors, really great use of a background. And cover art by Richard Anuskowitz. And this has Nobody That I Know. Winners of the first International Electronic Music Competition, Dartmouth College, 1968. So there you go. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. And if you go on Discogs, you can see the other jackets. And I'm really hoping that I can find the final 2 that I'm missing. Like I said, I think that was the series. I think there was only 5. So yeah, that's it. Thanks very much, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. If you did, if you made it all the way to the end, type in the comment box Ramadama Ding Dong, and you'll get a no prize, which will be just a pat on the head and a kiss on the cheek. Okay, thanks very much for tuning in. I hope everybody's doing well, and we'll talk to you soon. Later.